Hi, everyone. Welcome, everyone. My name is Noah Morse. I will be moderating today's Canva pitch deck show and tell. Thank you so much to our judges for being here. Thank you to all you lovely audience members for being here. We're very happy to have you. Our filmmakers are super grateful to have you. So thank you. We are going to have 6 filmmakers today from our festival who will be presenting and showing off their pitch materials for each film. Each project is going to get 5 minutes, and they will have 5 minutes of live feedback from all of our judges. On our judge panel, we have filmmaker Christian Mercado, we have a creative executive at Macro, Kyle Bowles. We have a filmmaker and the head of film at Jamie Lee Curtis's Comet Pictures, Russell Goldman. Creative executive over at Kevin Hart's Heartbeat, Kayla Stamps. And of course, Canva's head of global partnerships, Kate Marsden. Would just like to thank Canva so much again today for their partnership at Proof this year for our first annual event and for this co-presented event. I would love to invite Kate to say a couple words really quickly.
Thanks, Noah. Hi, everyone. As Noah said, I'm Kate Marsden. I head up global partnerships and based out of Sydney, if you can't tell from my accent. Look, it's a real thrill to partner with Proof. I think the mission of Canva is to empower the world to design. And we think everyone should have the ability to pitch and tell their stories and pitch their ideas in a visually impactful way, but not all of us, including myself, have design skills. So that's where Canva comes in. We've got a huge amount of templates, and we've certainly got pitch deck templates, which we'll be seeing a lot of today. And the whole purpose of this is to make it easy for filmmakers to pitch their ideas and their stories with speed and ease, so that that'll save you time to do what you guys are really good at, and that is tell the stories that we all want to hear. So I just want to make a special shout out to the filmmakers. I think asking for feedback at any point is, you show vulnerability. To do that in front of 75 people is something that's quite remarkable. And I think that you're also giving back by doing that. There's a lot of people here that are, I'm sure, going to take a bunch of notes for the feedback that you're getting. So I just want to thank you for showing up the way you have. And I've loved seeing your pitch decks, so I'm looking forward to seeing them on this big screen. And also thank you to my fellow jurors giving up your Saturday afternoon to also give back to the industry that you no doubt love. I'm certainly going to give feedback today, not as an industry professional, but someone from Canva. So I'll be coming at it from, a design point of view, and certainly leave the expertise from the industry up to the esteemed jurors here. So without further ado, let's kick off.
Thank you, Kate. Kate has a terrific eye for design. I believe this to be true. I would like to introduce our first filmmaker. Her name is Marie Roubin, and she will be presenting a deck for private burials. Oh, yeah, of course. My apologies. This is also Andrea Daveline. Cool. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Hi, my name is Andrea Daveline.
My name is Marie Roubin.
We are the writer and director for the short film Private Burials. I wrote this shortly after the birth and death of my 4th son, while I was dealing with kind of the weight and complexity that society puts on mothers, particularly. Private Burials follows the journey of Michelle, who is a mother of 3, who finds out she is unexpectedly and unhappily pregnant again. So oftentimes in our movies, our stories, we put mothers as a sidekick, as something that maybe we'll do, and then when it comes, we pass them to the side as a cheerleader or something. So rarely do we put them as the lead. In our film, we want to highlight mothers through the story of Michelle. She's a mother of 3. She actually herself has cast herself in the sidelines. She's just trying to find her voice again after giving birth to 3 children. As she's beginning to find her voice, she finds out that she's pregnant. She struggles to find the difference between what she wants for herself and what she feels she should want from society's view. After a lot of work, she decides to keep the baby and excited for this new future and possibility, just to find out that she miscarries at 20 weeks. She holds her baby as he lives and dies in her arms. She's left with emptiness and wrestling with grief and guilt. Michelle and David are our 2 main characters. Michelle is a woman who has lost or given so many pieces of herself that when she looks in the mirror, she struggles to find who that is looking back at her. She's taking that first step in discovering who she is. Maybe she wants a degree. Maybe she wants a part-time job, just anything to call her own. David is a staunch supporter of his wife, of his children, but also of his own dreams and goals. He is the type of man who goes out and gets what he wants. So he struggles to understand where Michelle is coming from. It never occurred to him that she wasn't living the exact same life. This creates a problem when Michelle confesses that she feels empty and alone, and she's not even sure she wants to keep this baby. David is thrown, and they struggle to find their usual equilibrium. Moving Michelle from mourning the loss of her individualism to mourning the loss of their child will truly test this couple. 10 to 15% of all pregnancies end in miscarriage. That's a statistic. We know it, and we just accept that for what it is. What we're saying, though, is women, you're going to give birth, and 1 out of 4 of you are going to experience this. Deal with it. Life goes on. Please don't share that with us. Or as one person said, imagine if it had happened to you when it was a real baby.
So now that you guys know a little more about the story, we want to talk about some references. This movie surrounding around the topic of conflict between motherhood and womanhood, we thought that these movies would be a good example of what we're trying to go for. Revolutionary Road, we need to talk about Kevin, Pieces of a Woman, and The Lost Daughter. What do these movies have in common? They're heavy drama focusing on a family that is going to have a traumatic event. We would therefore like to visually keep the warm and desaturated colors of the family, but only use vivid touches of color when something traumatic is going to happen to the family. At this point, I don't think it will come as a surprise that we want this movie to have a strong feminist voice, but we want the character of David, the husband, to be an ally, to be presented just as much as a victim of society's pressure as Michelle. We think that in 2023, it's a little outdated to just blame it on the men, and we really want to show this issue as a general societal issue and not just try to point the fingers and find someone to blame. For this movie to happen, we need a budget because we know how much it costs in LA. We really want to compensate fairly the cast and the crew of this film and do everything by the book in terms of insurance and laws. And that's why we would like to have around $14,000 for this film, which would luckily allow us to make a great short film that would therefore afterwards lead to a feature film. That story on its own works as a short. It's a standalone piece, but we think that we can dig a little deeper even into the aftermath of the miscarriage and the grieving part of Michelle with a longer feature version. I'm not going to go into depth into presenting us. I got to meet Andrea about a year ago after working with her husband, and I'm very honored that she trusted me with her project. And I brought along my producing partner, Juliette, very naturally. And what struck us is that we're all at very different stages in our womanhood and our motherhood. We have different lives, different experiences, but somehow we all connected on the fact that we all felt pressure on the topic. That's why this story matters to us, and that's also why we want to have a female-oriented crew where each and every woman can feel included and valued in this experience, and that also means mother. We want mothers to be able to apply to positions in this film, even if it means that we need to have a babysitter or a breastfeeding station on set. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to open it up to our judges. Whoever would like to start, Kyle, Kate, can go down the line.
Cool. Thank you so much for just that wonderful presentation and for sharing this very personal and impactful story. I definitely think the world needs more of those. Design-wise, like the deck is gorgeous and I think speaks to the tone of the film. So everything aligns there. And just thinking about from an executive perspective or producers who receive the material, a lot of times we don't benefit from a presentation like this. A lot of times it comes through an email or just after a phone call. So I think from the top, maybe just placing the word short film on the title slide would just help just to frame it a little better. I think once you see the budget, it becomes clear this is not a feature yet, and then you have the feature slide. But just in terms of setting the table for however it's gonna be received on the other end is helpful. But besides that, I think tonally it's well articulated. You have great comps in there, so that's what I would add. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, so echoing Kyle sentiment, this is a beautiful personal story that you've shared with us, so we appreciate it, and you can see just the impact throughout your slides. I would say, to Kyle's point, we do a lot of the time receive it through email, and so the visuals are so important. They're like the Beyonce of the deck, right? And so we, just making sure if possible, so like the picture, there was a slide where there was a lot of text, but a smaller picture to text ratio. So just, being mindful and keeping the pictures large and having them also help navigate the story along is great. And then just making sure, and you guys did a great job, but just continue to make sure that the pictures, again, make sure that they're tonally matching up together. So, yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, wow. Well, thank you so much for being so vulnerable and sharing your story. Like filmmaking is it's all about that, right? And, I think the pitch deck was really clear and very, to the point. And I think also pitching under constraints like 5 minutes makes it so difficult. So I commend you guys for being so concise and like being able to point that out. I pitch a lot, as a filmmaker. I've done it a lot, and more recently I did it and had a movie made and have several projects. So I've gone through this process so many times. So when I give this feedback, it comes from a loving place, right? I can clearly see that the project means a lot to you. I think from a directorial perspective, I would love to have heard from your perspective, why is this important? Because so many people, when they hear a pitch, it comes from the director, oftentimes, and they want to know where your personal investment is. And not to say that you didn't clarify that at all, but the directorial voice oftentimes in pitches seems to kind of lead, So that was my biggest point of feedback on the pitch. I think it was really meaningful, and I really liked it,
I'll echo everything that everyone else has said. I thought that the two of you worked really well together in the 5 minutes. That it did feel balanced. I did get a sense of where it was coming from. I got a sense of the significance to you, and then I got a sense of how it'd be realized, and the resources, and how visually as a filmmaker you were going to approach it. I think the challenge that I have transparently is I really want to see the future, and I think I'm struggling a little bit with what the shorter version of it would be, because I think its challenge in the movies that you referenced are all wonderful comps and really speak to this, but they have so much room to breathe because they're feature films, and I would recommend not so much not a gimmick or a stunt or anything like that, but something that is very identifiable of this story is taking place at this one moment that is just very impactful to all the because the characters are wonderful, to everyone everyone is involved in it, but it's really it's one slice, and you can see more if you watch the bigger thing.
Yeah, look, likewise, echoing the thanks for sharing this important story. Certainly from a design perspective, it's really, really strong. I think the palette, the colors, the tones, the images you've chosen, really suit the narrative. I think the comment that Kayla made regarding making sure that all the tone is consistent can easily be done using our photo editing tools. So you can just pick, certain filters and so forth that mimic that. I think the text ratio is always going to be a struggle, of course. I struggle with it in decks I have to do. A little tip, you can go on to templates and search text and photo, and a whole bunch of template slides will come up, and you can just get inspiration from them or even use them and then adapt the color palette and see how professional designers respond to that tension of text versus image. Another little tip is transitions between each slide. You can add a transition that will help when you're live presenting to complement the narrative and the mood that you're trying to convey. And there's some really nice slow transitions that might just help to bring it to life a bit more. But yeah, congratulations, it's a really solid deck. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you both again so much. I would like to bring up Abby Elaine Brooke with her pitch deck for Skin Deep.
Hi, my name is Abby Elaine Brooke, and I'm going to be presenting a deck for my short that's playing tonight in the Bump in the Night block. So this deck is intended for people who have seen the short, so I'm really going to be focusing mostly on sort of transitioning it to a feature and less on what the short is about. Great, so I'm starting off with a log line. As a series of brutal murders terrorizes a sleepy coastal town, an insecure young woman grapples with first love and disturbing bodily transformations. This slide is a director's statement. It's talking about the genesis of the project. It is loosely based on Hans Christian Andersen's original version of The Little Mermaid, which is a lot more gruesome and disgusting and bloody than the version you're probably familiar with from Disney. In particular, there's a moment in the story where the Little Mermaid has been rejected. The prince has chosen like a conventional, normal human bride, and she is offered an opportunity to murder him and bathe in his blood, and she will transform back into a mermaid. She'll become her true self again, and she can return to the ocean with her sisters. In Andersen's telling, she obviously refuses. She says no. She sacrifices herself. She earns an immortal soul. It's like a morality tale. But I was like always really interested in what would happen if she took that opportunity. So the short film takes place over just one evening. Our Little Mermaid, Marnie, is an insecure young woman. She goes on a kind of a final beach walk with her crush, Leo. It's the last night of summer. They finally confess their feelings for each other, and things, unfortunately, do not end in a romantic way. So in the feature, we're going to be able to tell this story over the course of a whole summer, and we're going to really get to like lean into the romance and like the sort of teen summer romance, beach romance feel. We're also going to get to delineate the body horror a little more slowly, like a slow trickle of information as we kind of realize what Marnie really is, seeing her skin kind of slowly peeling away to reveal the mermaid beneath. And in the feature, I introduced a sort of a bigger B plot, which is that there's been a series of murders. There's young men washing up on shore. Their bodies are mutilated. And this sort of small beach town, kind of in the vibe of Amity Island from Jaws, is freaking out. They don't know if it's a serial killer or a shark attack. Because Marsh End, our fictional Massachusetts town, is a much bigger part of the feature than the short, I have a couple slides here just kind of like filling in a little bit about the location. It was inspired by the real towns of Duxbury and Marshfield, Massachusetts, which is where we shot the short, as well as I mentioned, Amity Island in Jaws. Just some more visuals for Marsh End, the vibes. The body horror is an important part of both the short and the feature. So it's a little hard to see with the lights on, but this is an image of some of the VFX, the special effects we created. We did everything practically, mostly because of budget. So we really hope to be able to really expand on what you can do in the feature. I do want to maintain that practical focus. I really love practical effects, and I think it also lends this really organic, visceral fairy tale feel to it, to like really mostly focus on practicals. These are some reference points. Obviously, Jaws is like a super important reference point. I kind of think of this as like Jaws for chicks. Julia Ducournau is a filmmaker I'm obsessed with. Her body horror oeuvre is amazing, Raw in particular, and of course Jennifer's Body, the seminal classic, I think can speak to kind of the like punchy, like femme violence thing we have going on. The audience, I think this is fundamentally a genre film. It'll be scary, it'll be bloody, it'll be gross, but hopefully it will also maybe bring in people who haven't always felt super like their fears and anxieties are seen in horror. This is a very female gaze horror film. It's about the anxieties and fears that grow out of growing up in a body you're being constantly told is not enough, is not right, it's disgusting, you need to fix it with serums and creams and workouts. Okay, great, sorry, I will move faster. Again, fundamentally, very grounded coming of age story about coming to terms with your body as it really is. This is a little bit of information about just where we are, next steps. I'm currently rewriting the feature version. I have an earlier draft of it that I'm kind of overhauling. And we're going to festivals. These are the festivals we've been at so far. And this is a bit of information just about me as a filmmaker. Thank you so much for your time. I'm excited to hear your thoughts.
Did you want me? Yeah, we can go back the other way. Thank you, Abby. I looked at your pitch deck whilst eating lunch during the week and I soon regretted it. But that's testament to how strong the images are that you've chosen. So, no, well done. I think the pieces of feedback I would have, I really liked the way that you started to use animations with the header and the text. I would recommend maybe just to keep it to the header, perhaps, and really make that pop and make the text static. I think you could also play around the marsh end where you describe marsh end, and that picture of the boat is beautiful, and I wonder if you could find something similar in video and you could have that stuck to the back and just be moving really slowly, because I think that you're really doing a really good job in describing that location, and some movement there might help you do that a little bit more. Again, transitions might help, similar to the last feedback, but overall I thought it was a really strong deck. Just look at the text alignment on some of the pieces too, but no, thank you, congrats.
You so clearly love this material, and it just kind of like radiates in your presentation. It's really exciting, and you have like such a great, I think, bird's eye view of who the movie's for, how it's different than the short, what the comps are, but how it's different from these other movies. And I think that's so important, especially in horror, where every idea has been done in some way, but like you're pulling from all these kind of unique places, and it feels very original. I would love to see a little bit more of what the character's story, and maybe a little bit in a broad sense of like, this is what I'm thinking for acts 1, 2, and 3, just because I think that there are so many like wonderful and fascinating places the story can go in these two like plots and how they kind of converge on each other. But I would just love to hear more, especially if the ideal viewer has already seen your short and is probably just like wondering like, oh, cool, what's next? But
Structure,
yeah, exactly.
Totally.
But yeah, great job.
Yo, that was great. Straight up, I'm not even gonna. Yeah, I'm just gonna get right into it. Like if you're pitching a movie and the people leave going, oh damn, I really want to see that movie, and it doesn't exist, you've done your job. Like straight up, when I saw that, the way you described it. Also, you don't oversell it. Like you're very like casual about it in a way that's like comfortable, where I don't feel like there's just an earnestness to your presentation style that I hope don't let Hollywood mess you up. like don't let them tell you to do lame presentation styles. Like you gotta keep your earnestness, because it's so clear you love the material, and the way you present it and speak to it, the authenticity, that's the filmmaker, and that's what we need, and that's what get projects greenlit, I think, personally, because people see material all day. Trust me, when you do that, whatever you just did, it's beautiful. Keep doing it.
Thank you so much. So I had the chance to watch the short and truly enjoyed it. And when I tell you, I don't want. Well, you did give a little bit of spoiler in the deck, But I was like, I mean, you did a phenomenal job on the short. This deck is great. I just have a few notes. The director's statement. I usually see the director's statement, towards the end, because you really want to get into the story, hook us in, get us in, sell us, do the things, and then the director's statement is kind of, you giving more insight into the project from your POV. And then possibly considering adding a picture of yourself. So instead of about the filmmaker having 2 different slides, you can use that as the picture of yourself. And then to what Kate said, just, being mindful of spacing, and just, the consistency with some of the text and fonts, the sizes and the styles. And then again, we want to know more about the characters, because I saw this, like I said, saw the short, loved what you did. I want to see that on the deck more. So, but great job.
Yeah, just echoing all that praise. Also had a chance to see the short and want to commend you for just achieving a lot on a small budget, especially with the practical effects and the makeup and everything. You just literally felt like you were crawling out of your skin as an audience member. The presentation, like Chris said, is great. The deck is, I think, really well designed and logically organized, really easy to follow. My one recommendation, I think, from like an executive standpoint, from a producer standpoint, first I want to say I love the audience slide that you're thinking about, like your market for this film. I would just challenge you on adding some more recent comps. I think the comps you have are obviously great. Jaws, Jennifer's Body, these are classics. I think there's so many great recent comps in the genre that you can point to say this is still like so important now, and there's an immediate audience for this story now, just to add more urgency. But besides that, you killed it, so good job.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you, Abby. Let's please welcome Kimberly Michelle Vaughn with her film, 2 Weddings and a Fool.
All right, story time. Once upon a time, there was a millennial woman who was raised privileged. She lived in an upper middle class home with both parents married under one roof. She had her own bedroom and bathroom, and college wasn't an option. It was a guarantee. As she progressed in life with a degree, her credit score regressed due to student loans, credit cards, and, of course, her attorney fees for her divorce from her broke-ass ex-husband, who she occasionally dry humps in her orange Prius. Today, she lives back home in the hopes and with the support from her parents to save money. But delivering packages from an Amazon-like company doesn't quite cut it, thus makes her a fool. 2 Weddings and a Fool, a modern tale about unrequited love in social class. Written by me, y'all. All right. This feature is inspired by these films. Nope. Hey, these cult classic humorous films explore the complexities of how when love versus socioeconomic class forces the protagonists to change themselves in order to be loved, thus inadvertently allowing socioeconomic class to dictate how they choose a partner. The about. What does it mean to grow up privileged and to be financially successful? When we think about millennials, we think about the generation of financial struggle. No 401k, pension, massive student loan debt, renters rather than homeowners. There's an expectation for us in our 30s to have our life in order, and this current economic climate has become more of a hurdle to break the barrier into the upper class. See, when we lack financial stability, we resist conventionalism. Is love and/or marriage the way in? Synopsis. Brazen, educated, and delivery driver Kirby Barnes is 31, in outstanding debt, lives with her parents, and a fool when it comes to love. However, this fool strikes gold with an opportunity to rise out of debt when an affluent man, Demetrius Igwe, prematurely asked for her hand in marriage in order to compete with his younger brother, Daniel Igwe, for their family's real estate empire. When Daniel senses his brother's engagement is a ploy, he takes it upon himself to get close to Kirby, but instead they fall madly in love. Despite his engagement with none other than Chelsea Johnson, a renowned supermodel, in the end, Kirby and Daniel must make a choice between marrying for love or for power. The world. Now, the world is set in present day, and it is a modern yet farcical utopia where it is predominantly black and indigenous, thus having a capability of only focusing on sex, gender, and class rather than race. And this is Kirby's workplace, the world. I took these out, but yes, the theme, family and tradition. Like many cultures, family is a foundation for growth and respecting and honoring your ancestors and parents. Dreams, every character has a dream, and they want to be out of their current situation and always have more. Heaven, hell, purgatory, and hell, heaven, purgatory, and hell, excuse me, are made when reflecting on the three different economic classes in the world. As heaven would be upper class, purgatory would be middle class, and of course hell is pretty low. The garden represents spaces for great potential, as we see in like old films, especially that are in modern times, of the courtyard, of having healing and learning, create romantic bonds, and even send characters into magical realms. The tone of this film is a gumbo. A dry wit, moments of softness and sincerity with a kick of PG-13 profanity. The intention is to mix modernism and farcical tropes, which reflect the two worlds combining rather than clashing because these elements belong together. Characters. We have Kirby Barnes. She is sarcastic. She is blue-collar princess. Think of her as Bridget Jones. We have Chelsea Johnson. I would consider her as Cher. She's trying to do good in the world, but she's rich. And sometimes, you know, doesn't really get it. All right, Demetrius Igwe, he is a playboy, y'all. He is your dad's favorite son. He is definitely the British guy that's in every rom-com. I'm forgetting his name right now. Daniel Cleaver from Bridget Jones' Diary. And then Daniel Igwe is Mark Darcy. He is definitely dry wit, type A personality, and a mama's boy. And Hakeem Rodriguez is an F-boy and an ex-husband. He's a moocher, latches on to any opportunity that will give him what he wants. And Helena Barnes will be playing one of the other mystery characters that come in later. Got rid of these as well. And we move on. Now the team. We have Patrick Wimp, that is the director. Have myself as a writer, producer, and actress. Gotta get work. Judy Pappas is the producer. We also have Candace Majors, director of photography. And then the budget, this is $500,000. I think we're gonna need $1 million. Moving on. Thank you so much.
Our turn, yeah. Dope. Love the presentation, really fun. I think it's reflected in the materials itself, and that consistency just really helps sell like you as an artist, especially since you want to, be in the feature, I'm imagining. Yeah, it's just really, streamlined, and love the title designs and just the creativity just around all of it. My one note, I think, just to clarify again, like short versus feature, just from the top. I'm assuming it's a feature for $1 million. Also, the call to action, just like what's the immediate ask? I think that should be included in the deck if it's like ready to go. Like, is it the financing that you need? Is it casting? What's the timeline? Just to help come away with it with action steps for whoever you're presenting it to. So, otherwise, awesome.
Yes, you brought the energy. I love your presentation and everything that you're doing. Keep grinding, keep doing the thing. And to also be, talent and also, putting this together just speaks volumes into who you are. So I would say, I got a few notes. Remember how I said a few pitches ago that the pictures were Beyonce? The log line is Taylor, okay? That's the other star. And so, look, women power, all right? So with that, you want to make sure that your log line is hooky. And so you don't want to be too wordy. I do this too sometimes where I feel like I want to put all the words in. Just, be mindful about getting in, getting out with the log line and really painting a clear picture of what your story is about. And then also the slide with the comps at the top. I would think about, you know, picking a few strong comps and making a slide for the comps instead of like the lot. I think it was a bit of the description and then the comps. Just make a slide for the comps with some strong ones. And then pictures. I would say I think there's a few pictures. I know it's Nigerian family, but consider putting pictures that reflect who your characters are in the background, just so you're not thrown off. You're like, okay, I see, because remember the visuals are very, very important. And yeah, that's my feedback, but great job, really, really proud of you, so.
Yeah, man, that was dope. I felt like I was mad intrigued. I was really interested, and I like your presentation style too. Like, I think humor is a tool, you know what I mean? Like, it's a really, like, clear way to communicate something, you know? The one thing I felt like a little off on was like when you started your presentation, we're just looking at this purple thing, you know? And that's funny if you start your image with something funny, you know what I mean? Like you didn't have a gag, you know, there's no punchline to that weight, except this was funny as hell, just you dropping cue cards. I was so into that. But you should start, if you're gonna go for humor, then just go for it and like have your deck start with an interesting image that makes us laugh, you know, or sets us in that world. I also maybe would structure the world building in the front because you that's your strongest element in a way. Like you're like, oh, I'm gonna present to you a world you've not seen, and I have rules and I have like a perspective, and your cast sounds mad interesting. Like almost those two elements are like super, super fascinating to me. Like, and I wanted to see more of that really. Oh, and I'll mirror her note too. You had like a lot of comps, you know. So I was looking at the comp, I was like, oh, I can't, what is this movie? You know? And that was like my note, my observation, you know?
You were a very compelling and entertaining person as a speaker, and I think the challenge that I had is that when the text started, I was like, I wanted to hear more of her doing her thing. And I also wanted, of course, to hear the movie, and I think there's so many kind of compelling, interesting ideas in this presentation, but I feel like I got the sense that you were the kind of presenter that like hardly needed any text to refer to besides a log line, besides like just like a few key elements, because you seem to have such a great idea of like the story you want to tell and like why you want to tell it, and we can get the tone just from your presentation, which is so wonderful. But I feel like generally, I say this about most presentations, but like less text the better, more image-based. And Shrek felt like a weird comp, but that was my only specific note. Shrek felt like a weird comp. Because, maybe because, no, yeah, Shrek is,
We're pro-Shrek.
This is a pro-Shrek theater. It's people bring a lot of association to that movie, maybe more than because everything else. Maybe because everything else is live action. Everything else makes sense together. Personal, different strokes. Maybe I don't know.
Okay, don't mention the Shrek word. No, look, thank you. It was very, very entertaining. I think my main piece of feedback would be think about mixing up the layouts of the slides a bit more. So one of the layouts that was pretty consistent really throughout the whole deck was the full canvas image background with the text over the top and the strong red font as the header. Make that one layout and then maybe pick 2 or 3 others. So it just changes throughout the deck. So, and then that will help guide you. If you do that at the beginning and then populate the content, that will help. I think there's been some consistent feedback about bringing the images, make them work harder for you, and that'll help you reduce the text. One of the slides that you skipped through, but I actually burst out laughing when I read it previously, was the shitty Prius slide, which, you know, you could be really playful with that. The content is funny. So think about animations or that being like moving when you bring that up. But yeah, that would be my main piece. Oh, I think one more thing, you used a shadow on a lot of the body text. Maybe just use that for headings, and it just makes it more legible depending on if people are looking at it on their screen or on the phone. But no, well done. Thank you. It was very entertaining.
Let's please welcome up Omar Lopex for a distant episode.
Yeah. A Distant Episode, based on the short story by Paul Bowles. A Western linguistics professor travels deep into Morocco, wades out of his depth, and ends up swallowed by catastrophe. Paul Bowles was a gay American expatriate writer who moved to Morocco and stayed there. It was a perfect match for him. In his stories, he repeatedly used a North African landscape to depict his characters' eventual discovery that their quest for freedom and truth was in fact their doom. You might know his work from the Bernardo Bertolucci adaptation of The Sheltering Sky, his novel. A lot has been said about the story, but keep it short and sweet. I think Tennessee Williams, one at the top left, put it best. It's a true masterpiece of short fiction. In it, the professor travels to Morocco after some poor decision making. I'm going to save you all this. After some poor decision making, ends up kidnapped by a group of nomads, gets his tongue cut out, and ends up a prisoner for a year. In the end, he does achieve a very sort of unique sort of redemption. These are all locations. So we've done the location scouting for this movie already. So if you see anything like that in the corner, these are all beautiful locations that we've secured. The timing, I don't know if you know about the earthquake that happened. That was like really bad timing. But we've been in contact with our service producers, and all the locations and the people that are there they weren't harmed. Attached is Udo Kier for the lead. I think we all know Udo Kier's resume speaks for itself. I don't have to sell you on that. And it's a dream to have someone like him sort of play this, the lead in this story that I've loved since high school. He's had besides, his giant body of work, he's had a resurgence, a sort of renaissance lately. We've got Swan Song, of course, Bacurau, and Painted Bird, all very recent work. Behind the camera, we have really great talent. Ben Ziriab is from San Diego. I'm from San Diego. We met in this very funny small world of analog filmmaking. His most recent credits include Prizefighter, Grand Duke of Corsica, and The Seed. And our first AC is a legend in the camera industry, Scott Smith, Smitty. And he's basically on every IMAX movie that you watch. Production-wise, yeah, we've done a lot of the legwork for this already. We've got all the locations. We've got a service producer. We've got the lead. We've got 2 minutes. We've got 2 minutes left. Our production budget is at $400K. I've got people trying to cut the fat off that, but that's about where we're aiming. Comps. So this is all of Udo's new movies, basically. This is sort of our like one-liner, right? The anti-Indiana Jones for New Century. In this time of sort of like decolonizing institutions and museums and things like that, this really takes like and I love Indiana Jones. Like I was at my kids took me to the Cinematheque Indiana Jones three movie series thing. Anyways, because I feel like sort of like I'm betraying. But this really, you can do both. You can love Indiana Jones, and this really like it flips it on its head. It's a 180. The Westerner shows up, and he does not kick ass. It's the opposite. VistaVision. We're going to be shooting in VistaVision, the only sync sound VistaVision camera in the world that exists right now. So you might know VistaVision as the alternate to anamorphic, basically, in the 50s. North by Northwest, The Searchers, Vertigo. What VistaVision basically means is that we're going to be, we're going to have landscapes that just like swallow you up, and close-ups on Udo's face where you could practically feel him breathing. Music-wise, Richard Horowitz composed the African music for The Sheltering Sky, and him and his partner Susan have expressed their desire to do the music for this, and this is who we are. I think 10 seconds over. That's not bad.
Thank you, Omar. I'll kick off. Thank you. I think a few things that I would use or apply to kind of push this deck a little further. Morocco, when you think of that as a landscape, it's just such strong colour palette, the ochres, the oranges, the hues, and you certainly really were pulling that through at the first part of your deck. And then towards the end, it was more of a plain black background and white text. So I think you could really search for some colour palette, some template options, apply that throughout the whole deck. You can just do it with one click in Canva, and then go back and repopulate some of the content, and that'll just really help to lift and centre this really interesting story in the really powerful location visually that you've chosen. I would consider just reducing some of the text on some slides and mixing up the imagery and text ratio. It's pretty consistent feedback across every pitch deck, so it's always that challenge. And then there's some really great stock videos in the Canva library that might help to complement some of the ones. So even the beautiful desert shot that you had towards the end, or the middle part of the deck, sorry, you could find, a stock image. I did my search for it when I was looking through your deck, and I found some really nice, subtle moving stock videos of the Moroccan desert that you could just pop in to replace and just give some movement to the deck. But no, otherwise, really good. Thank you. I enjoyed it. Thanks, Omar.
I think the focus of my feedback would be organization, and I think that something that you have that is a wonderful asset is you're so far along in the process. You're months away from shooting, according to that page, and you have more time, I think, in even a 5-minute presentation to focus on pieces that I would have loved to hear a little bit more about. You mentioned this is a really important story to you. Would have loved to hear when you first heard about, when you first discovered it, what that felt like, how it stayed with you, how this idea kind of came about. Would love to hear a little bit more of the story itself. I understand that it's such a visually driven project, it sounds like, but I think just because you can almost reduce the amount of time that you point to these wonderful proven assets you have, where you can start with this is the story that I care so much about this. It's an important story, as you really well articulate. And by the way, we have Udo Kier. By the way, we have VistaVision. We have the AC of Scorsese and Nolan. We have all these wonderful things. And you can almost spend more time on what it means to you, because that's what I want to hear about. But it looks awesome. Can't wait to see the movie.
Yeah, that was interesting. I was like, yo, there's almost a quiet confidence that I like, because you have so many of the elements that I'm like, oh yeah, you're gonna go make this movie pretty much. It seems, yeah, go for it. Oh, well, what is it? What? Oh, you need the money. Oh, all right, good. That's good to know. Actually, I was like, you definitely seem like you can get the money. You just need some eccentric art house guy to be down. That's what you need. Some rich dude to be yes. Yeah, because I think Udo Kier is such a remarkable actor of the time, and I think you have a clear vision of this project. I think okay, so you are looking for money. So, okay. Then make your deck look more like it's intentionally kind of choppy, and look into brutalist design, look into Dadaism, because I think those are extensions of what you're making, it seems. I don't have a clear perspective on what the story is per se, or what you're making, or even who you are as a filmmaker. I just saw that and I was like, this dude is confident, like, you know, and he has the elements, you know, but I didn't get like a sense of what I'm, like, if I was going to pay for this, I would probably maybe have paid for it, or like somewhere like in the middle of a drink in a weird party and be like, oh yeah, $500,000, I got that. Like if I was a weird millionaire dude, you know. I'm not, but I'm just saying, like, that's where you would probably get the funding for this.
Yeah. So from a financier's vantage point, you know, when we pitch out and we're asking for, you know, a financier to come on board, I always say your deck is you visually showing the movie without having filmed a thing. And so you want the financier to feel really confident and comfortable that they're going to get the return on their investment. And so with the deck, you want to make sure, I know we sound like a broken record, but the visuals are telling the story. I always say like a, what is it, a flip book? You know, a flip book, each page helps to tell the overall story. And so for this, your deck, each page is so critical in telling your overall story, especially to someone who you're asking money for. So just being mindful of that, but I'm excited for you. And there, you know, you got a lot already, you have a solid team. And so, yeah, keep moving.
Great job. This is an epic tale, and I think it's apparent in the location and just the story itself. You have so much going for you with this film already, just with the hard work you've put into it, casting it, location scouting, and the material itself. It's IP. You have this short story, and that's, I think, where you want to just maybe focus on. I think the part that you skipped over because it's a lot of text is the story itself, to Russell's point, and also like why you as a filmmaker want to tell this story. That's, I think, the core of any project, is why you want to bring this to life, and all the bells and whistles and things are great, and it's going to make it a beautiful film, but just in terms of the urgency, like why does this need to be adapted now? Why do we care about this now, and why do you personally care about it? So would encourage that, but I feel like you know, when you're sending a pitch to somebody, it's great to have that information written out, but presenting is like an entirely different skill, and you're really selling yourself, and I think you did a great job just in presenting it confidently and clearly, but to get the money, you really gotta nail it, yeah. But you did, great job, yeah.
Thank you, Omar. I'd like to welcome Dakota Dalby and Harrison Hood for their deck, Her Monsters.
Yo.
Everybody can, okay, here we go.
Cool.
Harrison's the techie guy, so he's going to do that one.
Yeah, that's why I'm here. I'm the techie. Okay, sweet. Hey, everybody. My name's Harrison.
And I'm Dakota.
And we co-wrote, co-produced
Her Monsters.
Yeah, this is one of our babies.
So, first of all, Her Monsters is the first project that Harrison and I wrote together. We've been working together for like 7, 8.
Yeah, almost 10 years.
Almost 10 years now. And it's like the project that lingers in your mind, that's always there. I'm trying to find a home for it. So we've always felt something's really special about it. It's our kind of like stylized, interesting little...
We've done like 50 different versions of the script.
Massive Google Drive of the script.
Yeah, there's a lot of different versions. I know one is like, it turns sci-fi and they're like aliens. This is not that version.
Yeah.
But that version is cool too, so.
Yeah, you can see that one too. But this current version, follows Tori and her brother Kelvin, who must flee their small town after Kelvin commits a justifiable homicide, and they're chased down by the grieving father, who also happens to be the town's sole sheriff.
So in Her Monsters, it's set in like a really small town. I grew up in a really tiny freaking town. Like, it's all old people and it's super boring. So maybe that's not important to this. But the small town aspect is important, because I think if you put a magnifying glass on any small town, you're always like, you know what everyone's doing. You know who they're dating. You know what problems people have. You know, like, oh, that house, like, those kids in that house are like this. Like, you just know everything. So I think that's one thing about this film that's really interesting, is that it's a small town. Everybody knows each other. And our protagonist, Tori, she's a very talented artist, young artist, and she wants to pursue her passion in art and get out of her small town. But the thing kind of like holding her back, or the thing kind of destroying her life, one of her monsters, is that she has like a brain disorder that is causing hallucinations.
Yeah. Also, Tori's brother, Calvin. So in the film, the very beginning of the film, he gets out of jail. Calvin's like kind of like the lovable fuck up in a way. He's always in and out of jail. He's an on and off addict. Gets out of jail, comes home to their small town, really with the intention of reconnecting with Tori in a meaningful way for the first time. But unfortunately for them, Calvin ends up killing Tori's boyfriend in a justifiable homicide, which we learn about in the film, and sends them on the run. So the brother and sister, they try to get away, and they try to make their way to Canada. We're Canadian, so they're trying to get home.
Yeah, trying to get to Canada, yeah. Also, like, one of the things that we asked when we were writing this movie was, like, how far would you go for your sibling or your family? Dakota has, like, two sisters,
yeah.
and I have one older sister. So it's like, how far would you go if, like, somebody did something wrong to one of your sisters?
Yeah, like the genesis for that was just that thought. It's just like got in my mind was if someone did something what you learn about in the film, if they did something, what happens in the story to one of my sisters, what would I do as a brother? Like, how far would you go? How far would you go to protect your siblings? So,
And the immediate answer was, we would kill that person.
yeah, we would kill them. We would murder them.
So that inspired this. So yeah, Her Monsters, it's truly a story about family, you know, brother and sister relationship. It's also about revenge. The sheriff is taking revenge for the loss of his son. And then it's also our perception of reality. She's experiencing hallucinations that get more and more intense throughout the film. And can we trust our protagonist in the story?
Yeah. So these are some kind of visual comps to the story. Harrison and I, we love visuals. We're very into like aesthetic is our big thing. All our films are very colorful and stylized.
Filmmaking is a visual medium.
Yeah, yeah. So we thought like if we take that visual medium, place it in small town, rural America, it's a really cool juxtaposition. I think it's really interesting because you don't really see that very often. It's very bland, and we've always seen those like small town America movies, and we just thought, well, if we add some color to that.
I feel like it's not up here, but a good comp is like Uncut Gems.
Yeah, we love that movie.
Or their first movie, Good Time.
Even better comp.
Like just like that sodium vapor, like those color waves. Like I think it's really cool, and it's kind of gritty and real.
We have to speed up.
Okay. okay.
Okay,
We're on the last one.
As the movie culminates, our sheriff is closing in. Tori is forced to protect her brother, and it really ends in a way where we're questioning the sense of reality, like we mentioned, wondering if the last 90 minutes, the 120 minutes we've just watched, is real, or is it all just a figment of Tori's imagination?
But it's not a film student cop-out, woke up, it was all a dream. It's not one of those.
You won't wake up and it's all a dream.
Yeah, no. We're left with a lot of cool questions at the end of this movie.
And then just quickly about ourselves. So I mentioned we've been writing and making films for the last 7-8 years. We are both from Canada. We're both from Vancouver. Worked as actors originally. And we still work as actors. Not right now. The strike. But we met at an award show. I was up for an award. Harrison was on the adjudication committee.
And I went up to Dakota like, I voted for you, so if you win, it's because of me.
Yeah, so I've been owing him ever since.
In that voice.
We're making movies ever since.
Yeah. And then here's our small production company.
Yeah, and those are some
we're trying to build up.
You can't click them now because it's a big screen, but you can click those links and that will bring us to our other films.
Yeah. I think our other films are good comps for what we want the style to look like as well.
Yeah, it kind of speaks to like the colorful neo-noir aesthetic that we love.
And it's not in this deck, but casting, we don't have any cast attached yet, but depending on the cast, I feel like this movie, because it's a small town, could be made for like $200,000 with tax credits in Canada, or it could also be like $20 million if you get, I don't know, Elle Fanning.
Yeah.
So, just depends.
Yeah, thank you.
Great job, you guys. Really great deck. I think it's really clean and simple, and allows us to like concentrate on the story itself. Are either of you or both of you directing? That's what I missed.
That wasn't our intention with this film. Like, our intention is to be on as writers and producers and like a way in, right? Like a break into the industry in a feature way. So
we like to leave those things open
Yeah.
in case, you know, if we attach a cool director that has done more than us.
it's an opportunity for us to learn and like learn from someone more experienced and better. So
Got it. I think even as writers and creators, just be more intentional with like your vision for it, because I think it starts with the story. It starts with you as a writer, and then you add collaborators, and it shifts and it morphs. But the more clear you can be from the onset, the closer it can stick. As the ripples roll out. So that includes like your budget, like how big do you see this, or how small do you want it to be. And to that end, I would just maybe add like some breakout slides for the characters. It's a very character-driven story, although it's very visual and stylistic too. I really wanted to know more about like each character and their nuances, and the Tori character specifically, and like how we enter her world of hallucinations and things. That's what makes us unique. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, so I am a short deck girly. I love a good short deck, especially from an executive standpoint. We get so many decks.
Yeah.
It's easy, it's quick, you're in and out, right? So I love that you guys did that. I would just, to Kyle's point, add a few more things. Just a few more things.
Not a short deck.
No, well, this is really short. So
Do a short deck, but don't do a short deck.
do a short deck, but just add a few more things to make it just so that you're driving it home. So this is really, really short. We want it short.
This is why we need a third party, because Dakota and I sit and argue about all of it. It's too long. No, now
Right,
it's too
right,
short. And then
right.
we just
No,
go,
it's-
okay, we'll just commit to one of them.
It's a
and-
balance, and
Yeah.
it takes a while to figure. It's a dance, actually. That's a better way to say it. But you guys did a phenomenal job. I also want to see some unscripted of you guys, because your personalities are very quirky.
We've lived together. We do everything together. So it's like,
Yeah.
Well, that's the next festival.
Yeah, we have 100
unscripted.
other
Okay.
projects.
All right.
Yeah, I'm gonna echo that too. Like I think like something about the duality of you guys, like your back and forth, your banter, like it's just good. Like you guys, I'm surprised you guys aren't the directors somehow. You know what I mean? Like something about
I
it.
mean, like, we can be.
Yeah, maybe you should. Yeah, something about it. Yeah, like it's funny because before you said Safdie brothers, I thought that in a way. Like I was like, oh, these guys are like
The Safdie
there's a
brothers.
duo energy, and like I think that's a really good comp too. You know, for like what you it's really clear for people when you talk about that. You know, and but juxtapositioning it with a different setting. You know, because they're such New York filmmakers. You know, like
Yeah.
but you guys are like going like. We're the rural Safdies almost, you know what I'm saying?
Like,
That could
like
be
you're saying,
the-
like literally comp the Safdie brothers as like a.
you know,
as
it could
people?
be exhausting because I'm sure there's a lot of people who hear that or like it gets overpitched. But like, I think if it's earnest, you know, people, it's clear, you know. As far as the deck and the concept and all that, I felt it was pretty clear. But I think what Kyle's saying too, like about like the directness of directorial vision helping guides that stuff, you know. I think I said that to someone earlier too. Like sometimes you need that vein to kind of the person, like, oh, like that's the person, or like
Yeah.
how does that the entryway to it. But great job.
Thank you.
You guys should just direct it. Like you made Cafe Racer, right?
Yeah, Harrison
I directed Cafe.
Yeah,
and
that-
like, we
Dude,
basically made that
that
together,
movie
yeah.
has for a short. That movie has an incredible amount of scale to it. Like it looks like it seemed like you were ready for the bigger thing. And
Thank you.
And so much of your presentation is visually driven. It's visual ideas and comps and like. I understand it's always exciting the idea of bringing in someone more established, but like they're not gonna love it the way that you guys love it, and they're not gonna like know it, and like so much of it is your story and how this project like has lived with both of you for 7-8 years you mentioned, and I think that I would love it just in an organization way. I would love like almost some of the details you brought at the end to come at the beginning of like we know each other 7-8 years. Here's where we're from. This is the kind of thing we like. Just a little bit more concrete, but like don't let it interrupt the flow of like your chemistry with each other because it is wonderful in it. And I think that this whole afternoon has showed like how important it is to just like you're having a relationship with the person that you're presenting to and not the material behind you or next to you. That is like supplementing how you can be the most engaging person possible. So I think you guys did really well.
Can I just add something based on that? So wait, you direct? You directed
both
it?
direct,
Well,
yeah.
we have two films.
Then just
We
say
have
it.
two films at this
don't
festival.
don't hesitate. Don't hesitate.
But they're not based on this.
Oh,
They're
well, I'm
different.
just saying, like, for this pitch, like,
could.
lead that way, you know? I mean, I don't know. I think, you know. Yeah, because, like, the minute you.
Okay, well,
the
go home
minute,
and update the
because
deck.
we're-
and
it's 'cause
we'll
we're
put it in
Canadian,
the
man.
directors, okay?
I'm
Go
just.
ahead.
This is
a Canadian problem.
This
We
is
don't
a.
have
This
Yeah,
is
this
just
is a
a
Canadian
life,
problem.
a life, you know, tip. Like, just go in confidently, because I think for directors, if you're like, oh, maybe I'm a director, nobody likes that, you know. Like, nobody's gonna like fund it, you know. Like, you got to be firm about it.
We're just proud that we didn't say sorry, so it's great.
Yeah, back yourselves, absolutely. No, look, a beautiful, beautiful deck, and I only wish the house lights weren't so
Yeah,
vivid
a lot
because
of the images are dark.
yeah, that when I was looking through it, the colors were beautiful, and I think that you showed a lot of restraint in the design, but the outcome is a very aesthetically amazing looking deck. You talk a lot about the small town, and I thought that was really interesting, and I would have loved a visual there of a small town. I think we had 4 characters up at that point, so I think the way you're pitching have a really strong visual to match the narrative. I think really all I could suggest in addition would be have a play but still show some restraint with interesting transitions across each of the slides, because I think that'll help to push it a little further. But no, I really enjoyed looking through this one, so thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Cool. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you both. I'd like to introduce our final filmmaker, Jack Warren. Please come up for your deck, Violent Delights.
Hi, everybody. My name is Jack. Even better. Hi, everyone. My name is Jack. I wrote and directed, or I wrote and would love to direct, Violent Delights. This is an older draft, so I'm going to have to speed through some of it, so get ready. Violent Delights is a trans horror romance about a trans boy and a cannibal girl who fall in love and fight for survival against her homicidal family. Here's some, we're going to skip through the synopsis so I can get you through a lot of the story as possible. It is a queer romance about tearing up the powers that be to shape the world in the image of your desire, and it's also a gritty survival horror about making mincemeat of your enemies before they eat you alive. So think Bound versus the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, somewhere in that spectrum. Our lead is Sam Van Bell. He's just been sent home from college in the early days of the pandemic, back to his home in a very conservative town in upstate New York. Sam is early in his transition. He's on hormone replacement therapy. He can't really afford top surgery. He doesn't really imagine a world in which he could, and he doesn't really trust doctors anyway. He's very much a sort of by his own bootstraps kind of guy. And then he meets Charlie DeWitt. Charlie DeWitt is the youngest in a family of cannibals. She is not the killing type at this point. Her job is really to sort of collect information about people and help sew up her brothers when they get massive wounds. And she's going to teach Sam that it's important for him to reach out and lean on other people. He's going to teach her that she can escape this horrible, horrible cannibal world that she has grown up in. I'm going to skip the prologue, but there's a big opening kill. It's very scary. So we start off with Sam and Charlie meeting each other in the woods. Her foot is caught in a bear trap. He helps free herself. They walk back to his cabin and they sew up her wound. It's very cute, gory, meet cute. After that, Sam becomes obsessed with finding her again. We all remember early pandemic isolation. This is like the only track of humanity in his life. And so she follows him, or he follows her, rather, to her family's farm deep in the woods. There he finds the bear trap as well as some other scary equipment. And he's kind of sussed out by it. So he follows Charlie and her family, all of the DeWitts, into the woods. They're around a campfire talking to some campers. There's Tom DeWitt, who's sort of like a 50s patriarch, his wife River, who's kind of a deranged hippie, and their sons Ed and RJ, who are like mangy cannibals. So they're having a conversation with these poor campers, and then, oh crap, it turns into absolute bloodshed. They start killing the hell out of them. Sam is hidden at this point, and before he knows what he's doing, he takes an arrow from his bow and arrow. He's a bow hunter. And he fires it at Ed, which allows 2 of the hikers to temporarily escape. No one sees him but Charlie, just as she bites down on a human heart. Anyway, so he runs away, he tries calling 911, tries going to his family. They won't let him in. His brother is the only member of his family who will even talk to him, but he won't let him into the house because he's afraid of what their father will do when he sees Sam now that he's transitioned. He doesn't believe him about the cannibals, and he thinks that the real danger is their scary, scary dad. So Sam runs back to the cabin where he finds Charlie. They fight. She explains herself. She's trying to get his bow and arrow to plant another hiker to give him time to get out. He says he doesn't want to get out. He's going to take these monsters down himself. They reach an impasse, and so they make out. The next morning, Charlie leaves with Sam's arrows. At this point, Sam's grandmother shows up back at the cabin and starts talking about the DeWitts, starts talking about these cannibals. She's lost her mind to old age, and everyone has sort of shut her away, thinking that she can't provide anything. His brother shows up, takes Janie home, and that's when Sam finds a tunnel in the cabin. He goes through the tunnel, and then, oh my God, he's back at the DeWitt family compound. Oh my God. He talks to Charlie. It turns out that the Van Bells, Sam's family, are a long line of cannibal killers. Their families have been at war for generations, and that their first encounter was Charlie's way of sort of sussing out how much he knew. Anyway, we're about out of time, but shortly thereafter, they escape. One of Charlie's brothers gets into a fight with Sam, tears at his chest. He hits the ground. He needs surgery. There's no time to get to a hospital. It's Charlie's job to fix him. So she leans down with her sharp teeth. She eats his chest off, giving him the most romantic top surgery that anyone has ever received. Together, from there, she encourages him to reach out to Jason, his brother, get his help. They go to the DeWitt compound, they kill them, and they make their own happy family. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jack. Somehow you've managed to find a font in the Canva library that screams cannibalism, so well done.
Thank you.
I thought that was a really good choice of font. You could even you could push it a bit further. There's some really cool font effects that you could use to play with those headings a bit more to kind of make those pop. I thought the slide with the campfire and also the one with the tunnel, that would really lend itself to a video similar to some other feedback I've given. So you could even just kind of help bring those slides and moments to life a little bit more by having them move. I think overall, a way to push this a little bit further would be, there's a lot of kind of slabs of text and an image that takes up, say, half of the screen. So try to mix up the formats a little bit just to kind of break up text and the way it's presented. But aesthetically, I thought it was strong. So thank you. Thanks, Jack.
Hi, Jack. I think it's a wonderful presentation. It's a wonderful. I mean, the idea is obviously incredible. I want this movie to exist. I think the only challenge is this isn't a 5-minute presentation necessarily, but there is a version of a 5-minute presentation where you can get through the whole story and without really compromising much of the details. And I think it's a benefit of the kind of story you're telling, of like, it's really two people. It has a lot of genre elements. You can go through it, and it gets to keep being exciting because of what you reveal over the story. But I think you can pare down just some of the details or information that you're sharing. But other than that, I think it's a great example of like, pitches can be so many different kinds of things. Like you can do like the "here's who I am" pitch. You can do the like, I'm gonna take you through the whole story pitch, because like I understand what you, even if I didn't know you, I understand you through this movie and like your tastes and like what you're interested in. So like, it's awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, incredible premise. I think it's there's something smart about it. I feel like somebody give give you A24's number. You know, like it has an A24 vibe, and it's kind of clear, and I love that about this. Strong premise. It's really clear. I feel like I want to see more of this too, like in the world. You know, like it's such a interesting like a trans horror film, essentially. Like, yeah, baby, it's cool. Like I've not seen it, so like, or I'm sure there's like allegories or films that could play as allegories too, but it's such a tightly knit story in terms of like all the connections, you know, and like the characters. I like that you started with the characters. Now, as far as feedback, I'll say skipping slides on a deck very early on like that, kind of like it makes it feel like, oh, there's not a confidence in what you're showing, you know? So that kind of like throws you off a little bit. So I think like maybe before presenting it, just lose the slides, you know? Like don't show them at all. Don't waste time with that, you know? Because like people kind of do judge that actually low key. And then, and then let's see, what else? Oh, and the other one, it's more like a creative thought, but like, and it's more maybe to your benefit perhaps, but you know, it's open to interpretation. Does it have to be a pandemic film? Like, can you create isolation not saying the pandemic? It's just my experience that when you pitch stuff that has pandemic energy, people instantly are allergic. They're like, we don't want to revisit that era. We're not going to fund a movie about the pandemic. It's like clearly going to like, it's going to impede you in getting funding. So can you find an allegory for, you know, isolation that's not the pandemic? Because people think it's a bummer.
That's a great note.
Yeah, so echoing everyone's sentiment, this feels fresh, nuanced. I want to see it, especially like, you know, it's spooky season, so this would be a good thing to just jump in and dive in. I love the feud, the family beef that we find out at the end, the generational family beef. I would just say, again, everyone kind of said it, just trimming the fat. I would, you know, go into the top line info of the outline, characters, the world, give some comps, and then just keep things moving forward so that we're hooked in. We continue to be hooked in. I know I said this multiple times, but this is fun. This is fun and fresh, so keep moving at it.
Thank you so much.
Is there a script written, a feature script?
Yeah, baby.
That's great. I mean, I think with that, usually when filmmakers or producers send out the material, when they send out a deck, you can always follow up with the script. So I think the fact that you have that already, you don't have to spend so much time on the story itself.
Right.
Lean into what makes this unique. I think, like going back to Kayla's comment earlier, there's such a strong hook just naturally in this that we want to hear, you know, more about like, why do you want to make this? Why does this, you know, deserve to be made now? And it has all that in it. So I would just say lean more into, you know, more of the call to action, more of the, you know, what does this need to be made? Because the project thing can sell itself, like when you read it.
Thank you. Thanks so much, guys.
Hey, thank you everyone so much. Thank you to our filmmakers. That was terrific. Thank you to our panel. You guys were lovely. That is our show. Thanks.